Howdy and welcome to episode 63 of T-Shirts and Shawls. I'm Karen and today is Thursday, October 25th, 2018. So I am recording this a little later in the day from what I usually record. Usually I do it in the morning right after breakfast. Now I'm doing it right after lunch. I've had a bit of a late start to today because last night my husband and I went to see an awesome concert, which I will talk about in just a little bit. So it just kind of, threw everything off schedule a little bit, but I'm happy to be here in front of the camera talking to you guys and telling you both about the concert and what I've been working on lately. So the shirt I'm wearing is a shirt that I just got last night. So we went to go see Josh Groban on his Bridges tour, which is kind of for the new CD that he recently came out with. And part of my tickets for the concert, we got the CD included. And since my husband and I each got a ticket, we actually got 2 CDs, so we each have one. The concert was with special guest Idina Menzel. So I wasn't sure going into the concert what special guest meant, if it meant that she was just going to be on stage for maybe a couple of songs, or maybe she would come in and and sing with Josh Groban, or if she would have kind of her own part of the concert. So it turns out that she actually started the concert off and she sang for, I think it was a little over an hour. So we actually got what I felt like a really good show from her. And then she did come back later in the show and sing a couple of songs with Josh Groban. So it was exciting. I kind of felt like I got to see 2 concerts in one. And both people that I was really excited to see. So that was fantastic. I bought the tickets way back in March. So I've been kind of, anticipating and waiting for this concert for quite a while. So I'm happy that it finally came up and we finally got to go. So unfortunately it was raining a lot last night, but that didn't stop us. We went ahead and drove to downtown Dallas basically. And there were 2 other people that I knew were going to be at the concert, and I thought, this is a big concert. It's at an arena, so there are going to be a lot of people there. I doubt I will run into them. Well, guess what? I actually ran into both people. So Elizabeth and Abby, I hope you guys really loved the concert too. So basically, like I said, Idina Menzel started the concert, and she sang. There are several things that she is known for. I first knew her from Rent. She played the part of Maureen. She was the original Maureen, and that actually was her first show. So I guess I can say that I've been a fan of hers from the beginning of her career. So it's exciting to see that kind of 20 years later or something, to finally get to see her. This is the first time that I've seen her in live. So she's definitely known for Rent, also for Wicked. She played Elphaba. And for Frozen, she sang some of the songs in Frozen, and then she was on Glee, and there are other things that she's known for. But she's just incredibly talented, very personable. She interacted with the audience quite a bit. She wasn't afraid to kind of talk about the things that she was wearing. She had this kind of gold, very long train on a skirt. And she mentioned getting kind of tangled up in it in an earlier concert. And she was talking about the boots she was wearing. And at one point, so I know I said this when we went to go see Les Mis. I don't know what it is about people showing up late, but there were so many. Now I know it was rainy. I'm sure the traffic was bad. There were so many people that came in late. At first, right before the concert started, my husband and I were like, wow, I'm surprised there are this many empty seats. I would have expected, more of them to be filled in. And, about 30 minutes in, most of the seats were, much more of the seats were filled in. So we weren't on the aisle, but there was a couple that was next to us on the aisle, and then we were next to them. And then almost the rest of our entire row, except for down toward the other end, was empty. And we just thought, wow, I guess either these seats didn't sell or a lot of people didn't show up. Oh no, they showed up. Apparently it was one massive group of 8 or 10 people. And they showed up about, I think, 3 songs in. And so, we had to stand up and let them through. And they're just filing past. So that was frustrating. But apparently, so it was an arena and there was floor seating. And I guess some guy that had floor seating near the very front showed up 5 songs in, because Idina Menzel actually made a comment about it. Asked him if he found his seat, and you missed 5 songs. She actually used an expletive in there. So she, commented upon basically his lateness. What got me, though, was the person next to me laughed at that. The person who showed up 3 songs late. She apparently thought it was funny that Idina was pointing out the lateness of someone else. Anyway, I kind of wanted to turn to her and say, hey, you have no room to laugh at someone else. But that aside, also, people just got up and down a lot. There were these 2 girls that were not on the aisle, so this man had to stand up every time they got out. They got up and down several times. But the concert was great. It's just frustrating sometimes when you've got distractions kind of going on. So anyway, so like I said, Idina is known for quite a few things. And I have kind of been a fan of hers from the beginning of her career. So I definitely I enjoy the Frozen songs. I'm not like a huge Frozen fan. There were definitely people that seemed to be the thing that they know her for. She sang several songs from Wicked, which was really great. My favorite is Defying Gravity, and she did do that one. That was, I can't remember if it was the very last song she sang or like second to last, but it was right near the end. So the whole time I'm like, please do Defying Gravity. So I was excited that she did that, although some of the other stuff from Wicked was really great too. And then she did some stuff from Rent. And some of it was a bit of a remix version. Like, she did Maureen's performance at the Lot in a definitely different from the original version. I mean, recognizable, but also different. And that led into other songs. She did Take Me or Leave Me, which in Rent is the one that she and her girlfriend Joanne, so Maureen and Joanne, sing together, and basically they're having this huge fight. And so one of the backup singers came out and did the Joanne part for that. Man, that backup singer was awesome. So that was fun, and then she did some other songs from Rent, and I have to admit, got a little teary-eyed during some of the Rent stuff. So yeah, exciting to see that. And like I said, she came back and did a couple of songs with Josh Groban in his part of the concert. So after Idina was done, there was an intermission, and then Josh came on. And he opened with one of the songs from the new album, kind of a higher energy type of song. So it was really good opening. The crowd was excited. And then the second song that he did is one of my favorites of his. It's called You Are Loved. And I know, so I've seen Josh Groban in concert once, and that was when I was 7 months pregnant with Luke. Have to say, at intermission, I made a beeline for the bathroom at that concert. Anyway, so Luke is 7 now, so it has been over 7 years since I've seen Josh Groban, and he did sing You Are Loved back in that concert, and I think it was a newer song at that point. But anyway, so I was really happy that he sang that one because I really, really love it. He did older songs. So again, his first break was actually on the TV show Ally McBeal. He basically came in and sang a song. And I remember, I didn't watch Ally McBeal, but I remember that my father-in-law actually called my husband and said, you need to watch this. Because this guy is just amazing. So I guess I can also say that I've been a fan of Josh Groban since the beginning of his career, so that's exciting too. And so he sang some of the very first songs that he was most known for, and I have to admit, I was kind of thinking, I wonder how many times he has sung these songs. Oh, Wally almost tried to say hi. Apparently he didn't quite make it. He's gonna go over there. I just, how many times has he sung some of these songs? And it didn't ever seem like, I'm singing this song again. I mean, he had as much energy as if he were singing it, obviously not for the first time because it needs practice, but it felt wonderful. And then he also talked to the audience quite a bit. And one of the things I really enjoyed was him telling some of the story behind a lot of the songs. So on the new album, the first song on the album is this one called Granted. And I should have pulled the liner notes out because, okay, at least they came out. And the chorus of that says, let me find the chorus. If you have a dream, go chase it. If you feel hope, don't waste it. If you find love, embrace it. Never take a single breath for granted. So he said that so he wrote this song kind of thinking about his past and a lot of the teachers that supported him and pushed him to pursue his passions that he had when he wasn't really sure exactly what to do with all of the creativity and the creative energy that he had. And so he said he actually went back to his old high school, which is the Los Angeles School for Performing Arts. I don't remember the exact name of it. And recorded some footage of some of the current students there kind of doing the things that they're passionate about. So he actually played some of that footage during the song, and that was really moving. And I love the song on this album. When I was listening to it, I just thought it was a really, really great song with a great message. But now knowing the story behind it is just, extra special. So I really appreciated getting to hear those types of things. And yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the concert. There was one point where he went away from the main stage and he went to kind of this other stage in the back of the arena, which I'm sure was amazing for the people who were back there, who finally got to, be up close. So I really like, and he did that in the other concert that I went to as well. He had the main stage that he was mostly on, but he did a few songs on a secondary stage. So it's kind of cool that he, moves so that people that are in different seats could have a chance to get a little closer. So that was fun. I'm trying to think if there are any other big highlights. Basically, I'm so glad that we went, and definitely enjoyed that Idina Menzel was part of it as well, because like I said, I feel like it was 2 concerts in one, and it was just really incredible. So as far as what I've been knitting, there is one project, which I'll talk about in a little bit, that has pretty much captured my almost full attention. So there are a lot of projects that have not been worked on since I last recorded, but a couple of projects I've worked on. So the first one is the sock project. So I usually have vanilla socks. This is from Mustache Yarn. This is Jedi Mind Trick. In the one, I got half a skein in the Luke Skywalker colorway. So that is this one. And ooh, the light is not happy with that. So that is this one. And then the other one is Anakin. So I've started that second sock. So you can definitely see the difference in kind of the light side and the dark side. So I'm, I guess, maybe a little over halfway through the leg of the second sock. So that is current sock project. And then the other thing that I've been working on is my boxy. So right now, I mean, it really just looks like this big blob of fabric, but I am working on the front. I guess I was in the middle of a row, so I'm not even really going to get to show it to you very well. So I am working now, I am done in the round, and I am working on the front. So you split for the front and back, and you work the front first, and then you go and work the back. So I'm on the front, and I think according to the measurements in the pattern, I have roughly 2 more inches on the front before I do whatever the next step is. But I need to read ahead for the next step to kind of see, because it's something about the neckline, to see what it says, because I want to make sure that I'm not just following the measurements of the pattern. I'm also thinking about how it's going to fit on me. So I need to do some measuring and figuring out and making sure that this is going to fit me okay. I mean, it is supposed to be this big oversized sweater, so obviously I don't have to worry about like a very tailored type of fit, but I don't want it to be so oversized that it's uncomfortable. I mean, there is definitely a line there. So now instead of in the round, I'm working back and forth, so knitting and purling. It is definitely a project that I am bringing with me in the carpool line. It is kind of perfect for that, which is why I'm ending in the middle of a row, because basically as soon as I get to the front of the line and pick up Luke, I put it down and drive off. So I started kind of focusing a little bit more on that because, was it last week or the week before when we had all the rain? It was kind of chilly inside, and this really, I don't plan to necessarily wear out anywhere. I really want this sweater to be my lounge around the house. It's a little cold. I just want to wear something comfortable, type of thing. So that's my plan for what Boxy is for. And now the weather's kind of getting to the point where I could use it. So hopefully I can finish it if I really kind of invest some time on it. So I'm about to show you, I have the project that has totally captured my attention right now. So I think after I finish that, I will put more focus on Boxy because I do want to actually be able to wear it. And then after that, I will probably focus on putting the sleeves on that Let Go cardigan that has been waiting for sleeves forever, it seems. And that way, hopefully I can wear that this season as well. So I think that's kind of my plan. There are some other projects that I really want to work on. And obviously some other works in progress that I really want to work on. But I think just in thinking about the usefulness of the things that I'm working on, I think the sweater and the cardigan do need to get finished sooner rather than later. So let me show you what has completely captured my attention. Sizzle Pop by Leslie Ann Robinson. It is a brioche pattern, and I have done a little bit of brioche. I'm finally at the point where I am comfortable with the brioche part, but I have not done any shaping, any increases or decreases or anything like that. So Sizzle Pop has shaping quite a bit. I think there are 5 different increases and decreases. So you get a lot of practice with them, and but I've wanted to make this. It's been on my list of I want to make this for probably since it came out. I've really it caught my attention and I really wanted to make it. So without further ado, let me show you. This is one side. Grab the yarn so it's not pulling so much. So this is the main side, because the speckle yarn is my main color. And then this is the contrasting color side. And the nice thing about brioche is that it usually is a reversible fabric. So you get 2 kind of completely different looks. And so you can see the definitely increases and decreases going on. The nice thing about it is a a steady pattern. So it's not, like a whole bunch of different things going on across each row. So you can get into a rhythm of it, which is really good. And it's definitely giving me a lot of practice in the decreases and increases. And I realized that I really need to get a much better feel for the fabric of brioche, because, and I knew this even back the very first time that I tried brioche, it can be a challenge to fix mistakes, just because of the nature of it. If you haven't done brioche before, the basic idea is that each row is actually worked twice. Once with the main color and the second time with the contrasting color. And when you're doing that, you're working one stitch and slipping the other. And then when you go back with the other color, you're reversing them. So you're knitting the stitch that you had slipped and slipping the stitch that you had, I guess, knit or purled, because you do knit and purl. But the key is that there are these yarn overs that you create. So this is a stitch, and then this is a little yarn over that is part of that stitch. So whenever you slip a stitch, you also create a yarn over that becomes part of that stitch. So the yarn over is not a separate stitch. It is actually like a little buddy with the that stitch that you slipped. So when you make a mistake, if a stitch has dropped down, when you try to take it back up on the knitting, you have to make sure that you're also finding that little yarn over buddy. And one thing I've learned, those things disappear. If you drop a stitch, those yarn overs just kind of fade away, and it is hard to see them and to get back into them. If you have to tink back, you have to make sure when you're doing the unknitting that you are, keeping track of those little yarn over buddies, so that way they don't get separated or lost. And it's kind of a challenge. And in other types of fabric, you might be able to maybe finagle some things on the back side. Maybe if there's a really loose stitch, you could kind of pull it a little tighter and then maybe, kind of anchor it in on the reverse side. But since this is a reversible fabric, you can't really do that without those types of fixes showing. So I did earlier, I had one of these stitches. So basically where you've got the, outgoing of the stitch pattern, it does create, because you're creating, I think, 5 stitches from one, it does create a kind of a big stitch right there. And I had one where that stitch was like really big and elongated, and to the point that it was very obvious. And at first I thought I had dropped a stitch, but when I was examining it more closely, I realized, no, I haven't dropped anything. I just somehow really, really stretched out that stitch. Really stretched it out. Because when I pulled it tight, it looked correct. It looked normal. But then I've got this big loop on the reverse side that, I can't really hide very easily. So I did try to kind of sneak it in, that little extra loop of yarn. It's not secured really in any way, so probably it will pop out at some point. But it was quite a few rows back. I think actually almost like 2 repeats back before I saw it. So I didn't want to, I did not want to rip back, and I didn't want to try to do something to tighten that up. Because it wasn't like, I could try to tighten it with some of the stitches nearby. I mean, there was a bunch of extra yarn right there. I say a bunch. It was probably the loop was probably about that long. Anyway, so this is definitely keeping me on my toes. It is an enjoyable knit. I am really enjoying it. When I said that I have a whole bunch of other projects that I want to cast on, they're like all brioche projects with increases and decreases. Because like I said, I really want to get super comfortable with doing these stitches. So that way when I do make a mistake, because inevitably it is going to happen, no matter how experienced you are, mistakes happen. So when I make a mistake, I want to be able to fix things in a way that is actually going to, fix it and look good and not be completely frustrating. There was one morning where I thought, I've got a good long chunk of time. I'm going to sit here with my coffee and knit on this, and I'll probably get pretty far along. And that was the morning that I had a mistake, and I had to figure out how to rip back, and all of a sudden those yarn overs were disappearing, and I spent the entire morning trying to fix this mistake, and I did not get very far on it, so that was frustrating. But I mean, it's part of the process of learning. It's going to happen whether, if not in brioche, in anything else that you're trying to learn. And the more practice that you get with it, the more comfortable you are with it, and the easier it becomes to fix those mistakes. So I kind of almost want to create like a big brioche swatch and then purposefully make mistakes and then try to fix them. That's probably what I really should do. I just don't know if I truly have the patience to do that, because I just want to jump into all these other projects. So maybe I'll just do a bunch of brioche projects and practice it that way. though that's a little more stressful when you've got a mistake in your actual project. Anyway, so the body has 10 repeats, and I have finished with 6 of them. Obviously, each row is getting longer and longer, so it's taking a little bit more time for each row, but like I said, it repeats, so you get into a good rhythm. And I think that probably I will be able to finish this soon, I hope. Definitely, I think by the next podcast episode. Really, really hope by the next podcast episode that I will have this finished. That's kind of my goal. So, maybe I will have that done. Focus on Boxy so I can get that done and have another brioche project kind of waiting in the wings as my kind of reward maybe for getting through Boxy. And Boxy's not like, horrendous knit. It's just boring. Because it was stockinette in the round forever, and now it's stockinette back and forth. But I want to use it, I want to wear it, so I need to finish it. But this is exciting, and this is what I have been really focusing my time and energy on. As far as other things, the circular sock machine, unfortunately, I've had a lot of editing work the past 2 weeks, so I haven't really had enough time to play with it. I did have a huge breakthrough right after, I think it was the day that I recorded the podcast episode last time, and I figured out something that I was doing wrong, and I made this much longer sample, no dropped stitches. Well, okay, 1 drop stitch down here at the bottom. But once I fixed that, all of this I cranked with no drop stitches. Yay! So next up will be learning to do heels and toes and actual shaping. I don't know actually yet if I want to do the heels and toes next or if I want to play with my ribber dial. So I have another part of the machine that you put on so you can do ribbing. So I may want to try to play with that and get that to work. Or I may just, knit tubes for a little while just to really get comfortable with that. I'm not really sure. But unfortunately, I haven't had a lot of time in the past 2 weeks to work with it. I did find a good solution for how to set it up in my room. Because the table that I was using, I was using it like a TV tray at first, and because the sock machine is so heavy, I had to weight the back of the tray or else it would just fall forward. And then I used a kind of a small shelving type of thing, but that still was something I had to weight, and it was falling forward. So I saw that other people use tables that they like cut into so they can kind of put the circular sock machine more centered on a table, so that way the weight is evenly distributed. But other people use a workbench, so like something you go get at Home Depot, and the nice thing about that is because it's you've got the table part up here, but then it's got legs that open out. The weight is more evenly distributed when you've got something mounted on the table. And so I got that and put the sock machine on it, and I don't have to put any weights on the workbench to counteract the weight of the sock machine. So I feel a lot more comfortable with that I don't have to worry about the table falling over if I lift the things off of it. So really happy about that, happy about the setup. I just need to have a little more time to actually get into it and to work with it. And then behind me, I've done a couple little perler beads. Last weekend, we did some Halloween ones. So I made this little pumpkin, and then I made this super cute witch cat. So cute. Really love this little witch cat. And kind of be sad after Halloween. I guess technically I shouldn't display it since it's a Halloween decoration, but the cat's so cute. Anyway, so I had fun doing that one, and that's a pretty big project. So my son did quite a few little Minecraft things, and it took me almost the whole time to do this little cat. Anyway, so that is what I have been working on. For Roundtable Yarn News, I am doing quite a bit of dyeing right now because I have the East Texas Fiber Festival coming up faster than I even want to think about. It is, let me get the right dates, November 9th and 10th, which I look at the calendar is like 2 weeks. Try not to think about that, just trying to get as much done as possible. And then I am also working on next month's Yarn Club colorway, because if I wait until after the East Texas Fiber Festival, it goes out, the Yarn Club goes out on November 15th, and that is not enough time to dye that. Plus I usually like to have the Yarn Club stuff dyed almost the whole month in advance, so I kind of feel like I'm a little behind right now, but I'm really not. I'm good. I'm over halfway through dyeing it, so it's good. But I've got that, and then I have one of my wholesale yarn shops, so one of the yarn shops that carries my yarn, placed another order, and so I am dyeing that as well. So technically right now I've got 3 different things going on that I am working on. So because of my setup, I'm not able to dye a bunch of yarn in one day. Basically, I use turkey roasters, and because I want the yarn to cool very slowly, I leave it I do the dyeing usually in the morning, and then I leave it in the turkey roaster overnight. I turn it off, like it cooks for a few hours, and then I turn it off and leave the lid on and let it cool overnight so that it's cooling down very, very gradually. Although the yarn is, almost all the yarn that I dye is superwash, and it can take a little bit more than the non-superwash. I never want to shock the yarn, basically take it from one temperature to another really quickly. So I really like to have that gradual cool down. It helps in color fastness, and also just making sure that the yarn itself isn't hurt. Isn't damaged in any way. But that means that turkey roaster, once I've put a batch of yarn in it, that's it for the day. I get one batch of yarn out of it, and a batch is 4 skeins. And because I'm doing this in my kitchen, I don't have a ton of counter space, and also electrically I cannot plug in more than one turkey roaster per circuit. So, and when I look at like the circuit breaker in our garage, I have to plug them into outlets that are on different ones, because if I have 2 in one circuit, it basically, I have to go reset the circuit at the circuit breaker. I figured that out. Anyway, so by doing it in the kitchen, I only have 2 that I can go at one time, because I've got 2 different circuits in the kitchen. And so basically I do 8 skeins of yarn a day. So I'm pretty much dyeing every day so I can get as much done as possible. And so 8 skeins of yarn a day is not a lot, So I've been thinking about it like, oh man, if I could just even add a 3rd turkey roaster in, then, I'd bump it up to 12 a day, and that would make a pretty huge difference. But I can't run all 3 at the same time, blah, 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 blah. I don't know why I was thinking of it that way. I went ahead and bought a 3rd one. And now, there's no space on my kitchen counters. But anyway, so what I'm doing is I am not turning them all on at the same time. Duh! Little light bulb moment there, that they don't all have to be running at the same time. I can pick 2 to run to start with, and when those 2 are done and they are off, then I can turn on the 3rd one. And then for those colors that need multiple layers, then usually there is a cooling time in between. So basically while that one is cooling, then the 3rd one is running, and then by the time the 3rd one is done, then that other one that needs another layer should be cool enough that I can add in the dye for the next layer. And I've worked out, I've been doing this maybe week and a half or so, but I've got kind of a good system built up now where I can do that and get things actually kind of structured so I can use all 3 in one day, but not at the same time. And I gotta say, doing just that one extra dye pot a day has made it so much easier to feel like I actually can complete, dyeing for a show and a wholesale order and a yarn club kind of all at the same time. So it really is amazing just adding that one in. I don't have the counter space for a 4th one, but maybe someday I can have some type of setup where I can have more space. But anyway, just that one has really, really added to my production levels quite a bit. So happy that I went ahead and made that move. So the yarn shop, for those of you who are in the DFW area, West 7th Wool, which is in Fort Worth, earlier, I think it was shortly before Yarn Crawl, DFW Yarn Crawl, they placed an order from me, and they picked Merlin, which is my fingering weight merino nylon yarn, and so they have that in their shop, and they do still have a little bit available, but from what I haven't been there in a little while, but from what I understand, there is a little bit still available, but not a lot. Which is good news, because that means that it's sold, which means that they feel like it was time to reorder, and so they did. And this time they ordered more Merlin. So some of the colors are the same as the ones they'd ordered the first time and have sold out, and there are a few that they didn't order the first time. And then they also ordered Cornwall, which is my DK weight BFL, so Blue Face Leicester, which is a fabulous sweater yarn. And I'm thinking that might be what they're going for, because normally my dye lots are in batches of 4. And so I ask the yarn shops to order in multiples of 4. And for Cornwall, for each color, they've ordered 8. So they will be 2 different dye lots, 4 and 4. But I'm doing my best to try to make sure that the dye lots are as close to each other as possible. So I'm thinking that maybe somebody, I know someone in particular who has made a couple of sweaters out of Cornwall. Maybe someone's mentioned that, and so they bought the larger quantity so that it could be a sweater quantity for people. Although even within the same dye lot, for best results, you should alternate your skeins. I'll be honest, I don't always do that, but definitely if you're using different dye lots, you should alternate skeins. So that way there's not, clear delineation between the skeins. So I'm excited about that. I am definitely by the end of the weekend, I will be finished with the dyeing part of their order, and then I just have to finish all the rescanning. And then after that, I will take it up to the shop. So I should have it, bring it up to the shop before I go to East Texas Fiber Festival. So within the next 2 weeks, I should be making a delivery to West 7th Wool. So those of you who are local, if you want to see the Merlin and Cornwall bases in person, they will have that soon. And I will probably post on Instagram whenever I deliver that. So if you follow me on Instagram and you're interested, then that's probably the best way to find out when. And possibly West 7th Wool themselves will also post. They did the first time when I had my first delivery there. So anyway, so that's exciting. I'm glad that, thank you guys who bought the yarn from West 7th Wool, to kind of show them that, hey, yeah, people do actually want to buy this yarn, and cause them to need to reorder. So I really, really appreciate that. For those of you not in the local area, actually also for those of you in the local area, Fiber Lady has Camelot, the merino cashmere nylon fingering weight base. So that is the yarn shop in Louisville. So again, in the DFW area. For those of you not local, if you are interested in seeing if your yarn shop might be interested in carrying my yarn, I am taking new wholesale clients. So I would like to talk to other shops. Make sure you tell your local shop owner about me, about my yarns, and tell them to contact me for information about wholesale. So now I'm getting my production level up just a little bit. I definitely want to make sure that I'm not, overextending myself. But I think I could dye up a little bit more for some other shops. So let your shop know if you want to see my yarn. And as far as everything else, really that's what I've been doing. I've been doing a lot of dyeing. After the East Texas Fiber Festival, I basically have some downtime. I say downtime, I'm still going to be doing a lot of work. I'll already be dyeing for DFW Fiber Fest because I need a lot of yarn for that one. But I will have some time. I've got the retreat that I'm teaching at in February, and also we'll have some yarn there. But then besides that, I don't have anything between now and DFW. So it will give me time to build up inventory for DFW, but also hopefully some time to plan out some other things. So I'm gonna kind of be using that time for some planning. As I have all these ideas, and I want to, figure out which ideas are the ones that I should pursue, and then kind of start pursuing some of those ideas. So one more kind of reminder, I know I mentioned this last time, the retreat in February is the Winter Fun Fiber Retreat. I think that's the right order of the words. I will link to it in the show notes. I am teaching a class all about yarn, basically talking about what's the difference between a 2-ply and a 3-ply, what is a cable ply, what is a chainette yarn, and what should they be used for? What's the difference between working with bamboo versus wool versus cotton? What's the difference between a tight twist and a looser twist yarn? So all of those types of things, and recommending the types of projects to make out of it. You'll have samples of the yarns that I'm talking about for you to actually swatch with. And so I'm really excited about that. Somebody did send me a message asking a question about the class. And her question was, do you have to go to the retreat to take the class? And the answer is yes. The retreat does have a retreat fee. I believe that is $165. I am not clear on exactly what that covers. I assume it covers the facility fee, because it is at a hotel, and the retreat itself has to pay for the rooms that we're using, so I'm sure that it goes toward that. And it does cover a lunch. I think it's a soup and salad lunch, so not like anything super big, but it does cover lunch on, I don't know if it's all 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, but definitely I think Friday and Saturday. I'd have to double check on how many days. So you do have to pay the retreat fee. And then the retreat also asks that you stay at least 2 nights in the hotel, because they've negotiated a room rate, and they have to make sure to fill up a certain number of rooms. If they don't, then basically the retreat people have to pay for that themselves out of the retreat money. So if you don't fill up the hotel block, they're still responsible for paying for it. Usually, there's usually a contract that requires a certain number of rooms. So they do ask that you stay in the hotel for at least 2 nights. So the retreat is Thursday through Sunday. I'm planning to be there the whole time. My class itself is on Saturday. So if you want to take my class, yes, you do have to come to the retreat, and yes, you do have to stay at least 2 nights in the hotel. The person who asked is local, and so she said, I don't really need to stay in a hotel. And I totally understand that, but I want to make an argument, and this is not just for that person, this is for everybody. I want to make an argument for why you might want to stay in a hotel rather than going home. The idea here is that it is a retreat. It is a time not just for you to go for the day and take some classes and then to go back home. It is a time for you to really immerse yourself in the experience of being surrounded by like-minded folk. And there are classes that actually run, like my class is 4 to 7, so it's in the evening anyway. But there are, there are going to be people that are going to be sitting in the lobby, and I assume sitting in the rooms after the classes and continuing to knit and to spin and to crochet. And there are other fun crafts that you can take classes for there as well. I signed up for a class on tatting. So it's kind of the idea of a retreat is the immersive experience. So by staying in the hotel, you stay within that immersion, and you don't you don't go back home and get confronted by things like laundry and all of the just regular home things. So it's a getaway, it's a vacation, and yes, it might literally be in your backyard, and it might not make sense for why you might want to pay for a hotel when you could just go home. But the idea, again, is that it's the immersive experience, and by staying in the hotel, you are immersing yourself in the experience. So again, for the person who asked me the question, I don't want you to feel pressure to go to the retreat and to pay for the retreat in the hotel. But I do want to let you know kind of the thinking behind why you would want to possibly stay at a hotel when you could just go home. So that's the idea behind the retreat. And that goes for any retreat, anything that's labeled as a retreat. Even things like DFW Fiberfest. I do admit that these days I do come home because, to be honest, after vending for the entire day, I am exhausted, and sleeping in my own bed and getting to see my son and my husband, just a little bit of restoration that I kind of need. I would love to stay at the hotel and, sit out in the lobby and talk to people, but I'm an introvert. I just need that downtime. So I know that if I stayed at a hotel there, I would probably go up to my room and just kind of veg out. So I'd rather kind of veg out in my own bed. But for something like the retreat, it's nice to be able to go to your room maybe a couple of times during the day if you're an introvert, just to kind of relax and get away. I can't really do that as a vendor when I'm at something like DFW Fiberfest. But if you just want to go for half an hour and just take a little time away, and then you can come back and continue on with the whole social aspect of it. Anyway, so I'm looking forward to it. Even though I also could drive home each night, I think that it's the idea of just getting away, having it be a vacation, basically, even if it is pretty much in your own backyard. So, looking at my list, I think that's everything for Roundtable Yarns news. So don't forget that we are in our 4th quarter knit along. The theme is any shawl. Any shawl. The yarn, however, needs to have been in your stash before October 1st. So basically the idea is don't buy new yarn for this knit along. Use something from your stash. And it could literally be yarn that barely squeaked by and got into your stash before October 1st, or it could be yarn that has been in your stash for a very long time. And in fact, on the FO thread, we actually have that exact set of circumstances. So we have a Simple Motif who actually finished a mystery knit along. So this is the Boo Knits Gothic Angel mystery knit along. She got this yarn. It's actually my yarn. My lace weight is old. She got this yarn basically just before the October 1st cutoff for the knit along theme. And this is it on the blocking board. You can see, just look at that shape and that lace, and oh my goodness, it's just amazing. And I can't believe that she finished this gorgeous lace weight shawl so quickly. So congrats, Erica. That's just gorgeous. And then the other finisher so far is S. Martiche, who did an iris moss shawl with the oldest yarn in her stash. Isn't that cool? So we've got something that was just squeaked by the deadline, and then the oldest yarn in her stash. So there is the iris moss shawl. I think that's fabulous. I love that we've got kind of the two ends there. So far, those are the only 2 FOs. I know several of you are working on things. My Sizzle Pop is the shawl that I'm making for this 4th quarter knit along, and this time I might actually finish it by the by the end of the quarter, even early. Maybe I can squeeze the second shawl in there. But I'm happy to see you guys working on that. I have not yet picked a prize. I will say that my idea was to since it is kind of yarn from your stash, I thought about picking some yarn from my stash, which I have done before, so I thought I would make it maybe a little extra special. So I will say it will be this, I just haven't picked which one yet. So I went through my hand spun stash, looking at the yarns that I've spun over the years. And first of all, I gotta say, I need to look at my handspun stash a little more often, because there was stuff in there that I'd actually forgotten about, and stuff in there that I'm like, ooh, I want to use that. So the hard part is going to be finding something that I think is worthy of being a prize, but B, also being something that I don't want to, that I'm willing to let go of, because looking at it again, I was like, I want to use that, and I want to use that, and I want to use that. So I'm going to have to maybe sit down and think about what projects I might want to make with things, and then find something that, again, is worthy of a prize, but also that I am willing to give up. But I will find something. At least one skein of handspun will be the prize for this quarter's knit along. So once I do pick it out, I will post a picture. If you follow me on Instagram, I did kind of post this picture of some of my handspun kind of spread out. So if you're interested in kind of seeing what some of the options might be, you can check out Instagram. I am Karen Dawn Knits on Instagram. So go back through the handspun stash, figure out projects for myself, and figure out something for the prize. But I'm excited and looking forward to seeing what stash you guys are using and what shawls you're picking. And make sure you post in the chat thread. Let us know what you're working on, and then post in the FO thread. Remember, no chat in the FO thread. Chat in the chat thread. Post your FOs in the FO thread. There were a couple of chats in the FO thread. But I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys are working on. And that's it for this episode. As far as what I'm reading and watching, I'm still working on that series that I talked about last time. I am in the 4th book, which, from what I understand, that's the end of this particular series. The author has other series that are set in the same universe. So still really enjoying that. It is the Gail Carriger is the author, and I've forgotten the name of this series. It's the Finishing School series. I think that's what it's called. Anyway, so I talked about it in the previous podcast. Still enjoying the new Doctor from Doctor Who, and yeah, that's pretty much what I've been reading and watching. So no use for a whole segment for that. So really that's it for this episode. Thank you so very much for watching. As usual, I encourage you, please come chat about the episode in either the episode discussion thread on Ravelry, or you can post a comment right here on YouTube. Like I say, I love the back and forth, the conversation, not just me talking to you, but hearing back from you. So definitely post your comments. If you ever have any questions you'd like me to answer on the podcast, there is the Questions for Karen thread over in the Ravelry group, so make sure to check that out, and check the show notes for links to everything that I've talked about. So again, thank you so very much for watching, and until next time, happy knitting!